In this video, we're going to have a look at how to work with tickets in your database. So let's start with how to create a new ticket because there's a couple of different ways that we can do that. Depending on the location that you're starting from in CRM, there may be a ticket shortcut button up the top. So in companies here, we can see I can click on ticket and quickly throw one into the system. I can also open an existing customer record, so either a company or a contact, and on the toolbar here, I also have the option to quickly create a ticket. While we're on the customer record, we can also scroll over and bring up the ticket tab. So this is going to show us a complete history of all tickets that this customer has within the system. Coming into the operations area, we can create a ticket directly from an asset. So an asset is basically a product that you're selling a customer that you're either maintaining or servicing or installing or basically going to do work on in future. So if I open an asset record for a customer, I can quickly add a ticket into the system from here. If we hop into projects now, I can open an existing project and you can see that we have a ticket tab here and we can also add a ticket into the system this way. The other way to create a ticket, of course, is just to come straight into tickets and hit on the new ticket button up here in the top right hand corner for the full form, or we can click here on the smaller button to give us the short form for a ticket input. So before we create a ticket, let's have a look at the options that we have at a system level. So if you come into the admin area, come down to settings, and then we can jump here into ticket settings. What you'll see are drop-down lists that appear on a ticket that you can customize to suit your requirements. So for example, we've got a type field here. You can go and add as many different options to this list as you need. So I can quickly click the add button, throw in an option and have that appear on the list. I can change the order of items on the list by using the arrows to move them up or down. I can edit an existing option. I can also delete an option. And I can basically work my way through these fields so that I can get the terminology that my business or organization needs into the system. So it's really easy for users to input tickets and have them classified correctly according to what you require. So once you've done the customization work here, we can jump in and throw a ticket into the system. Now, as I showed you before, clicking on the large button up here gives me the long form, so a full page for the ticket, and clicking over here will give me the short form. So they'll both achieve the same objective, it's just up to you as to which one is more convenient to use at that time or what your preference is. So in this case, I'm going to add one in using the full form. So clicking on new ticket, I can then select a customer from here. So I'll pick on Cafe Suburban today. Once I've made that choice for a company, it will then show me any associated contacts and I can select from them. What I can do here is go and add a subject for the ticket into this box. So in this case, I'm going to have a pasta machine that I've sold the customer, which is broken down and needs to be serviced. So we'll put broken pasta machine in there. We can then go and assign the correct severity, type, status, source, etc. to the ticket. So that's why it's important that you go and customize that at a system level first. When it comes to assigning the ticket, we can pick from a particular team that you have set up or an individual user. We can then decide who the ticket is visible to. So everyone in the system, or just the person who created the ticket, or just people who belong to the same team as you do. So you've got control over who can see which tickets. We can also link a ticket to an existing campaign. And in this created field, the system is automatically going to populate today's date. Now, when we were talking about assets before, as soon as I've chosen the customer Cafe Suburban, the system has gone and done a lookup for any assets that that customer has. So in this case, we know that they have a pasta machine. So I can now link that asset in so that I can have details of the asset linked to the ticket and vice versa. We've also got a couple of date fields here. So this close field, once the ticket status is changed to close, the system will automatically fill in the date of the closure. You can add a due date to the ticket. So that means that on that date, the person that the ticket is assigned to over here will receive a notification alert in CRM telling them that action needs to be taken on the ticket. So it's a really quick way to get a follow-up or a notification for whoever it's assigned to. We can also add in values to the first assigned and expected close field to help us with tracking and workflowing with our tickets. We can also differentiate between tickets that are with us or with the customer. We can set a priority. We can also get a second user involved on the ticket as somebody maybe who's ultimately responsible for it, but a different person is going to carry out the work and that's who it's assigned to. We can also link a ticket to a project. And if you've got time billing enabled in your system, you're able to select the type of billing that we want to have. So in this description box, we can put details of the issue. And once we're done, we can hit on Save and Close. So we now have a full ticket form. So the details of the issue are prominent up here. And what the system has also done helpfully is once I've linked this to a customer, it's gone and pulled across the customer's price level and also their life cycle stage from their record, which is handy. So we can scroll down and see that this now has a timeline. We can initiate a range of different activities from here, and we can also quickly create a task from a ticket. So let's have a look at putting basic activities into the system against a ticket. I'll click here to add a note, and once I've saved that, you'll see that it's going to appear on the timeline straight away. So we can build up a history of our activities. If I go and add future dated activities, so for example, I might want to set a call that I'm going to make next week. So I can add the details into the system, future date that, and hit on save. So I'll need to assign that to somebody. And once I save that, we can see that that call now shows as a planned activity over on the side here. It will also show as the next step at the top of the ticket. So if you've set up a notification for the due date of the ticket, you'll be able to click on that, quickly come through, see the details, see what the next step is, and also come down to the planned activities area. So once that call is made on the 6th of July and marked off as complete, that will then move over to the timeline area as a historical activity. We can also quickly add tasks into the system. So once we've added a particular task, so I'll just select an assignee and we'll just put this in as a test task so we can see what it looks like. Again, on the task, we can quickly create a reminder so that the person that it's assigned to will get an alert in the system. So once I've saved this, it will hop into the system and we'll be able to see the task here from the task tab. So any tasks that we have associated with it, we can quickly bring them up here. What we can also do is quickly create a task by copying over the details from the ticket. So that's sometimes useful because it cuts down on having to transfer manually a whole heap of information. So if I hit task from ticket, you can see that we have a new task that's just been created for me and it's brought over all the issue details that I had. So that's really quickly created one for me and the ticket is now linked to the task so I can see them from one another. With the task that I've just entered, you can also see that it's popped up here as the next step. Basically because the planned activities here, it looks at which is the next one in line in date order, and then we'll display that here as the next step. So you can see I've now built up a couple of activities here, and I can also see the task over on the timeline. So we can basically go and schedule calls, tasks, and meetings to show as planned activities or the next step. Now, in the event that I'd like to loop in one of my colleagues on this ticket, I can go and add them as a participant. So I might go and pick on somebody here and say, okay, well, they need to be involved in this because they are the salesperson responsible for that customer. So I can keep a record of who else is involved here. So what we'll also see is because we've linked that to the asset, as well as getting to the asset via the tab down here, we can also quickly open that in a new window as an associated record. So this is the asset record and the asset is now linked to the ticket. So if we jump in here to the tickets tab, we'll be able to see all the tickets to do with this particular asset and then we can hop back into the ticket from there as well. Another really useful feature is this follow and notify option up here. So we can see how we can have the ticket assigned to somebody and we can also have another party that's responsible for it. If you'd like to stay in the loop on a ticket or put one of your colleagues into the loop, we can use these follow and notify buttons. So if I'd like to stay up to date on this ticket, I can press the follow button. What will happen is I can have the system automatically send me a summary of things that have happened on this ticket. So I can have that sent to me either weekly, daily, monthly, etc. and choose there. I can also stop following if I'd like to. If I'd like to notify a colleague, I can basically click on notify and go and pick somebody from the system so that they'll receive those notifications as well. So that can be quite handy. If we now come back into the main screen for tickets, let's look at the things that we can do in here. So at the top, you'll see that we have multiple different views that we can choose from. So the view that you're in will be this goldy color. So you can see that we're in list view at the moment. If there is address information in the ticket, what you'll be able to see is go and visualize all of your tickets on the map. So as I move out, it will go and collate hotspots of activity into the system. I can click on that and then drill in and see some more detail about what is happening at those locations. I've also got Kanban view, which is fantastic because it's going to show me all my statuses for my tickets and which one belongs to which status. So that's why it's important to go and customize that status information in your system. We can also break the tickets down and see them by who they're assigned to or by what their severity is. Now, aside from being able to see this information in a visually neat way, we can also work with records quickly and easily in bulk. So I can grab a ticket and go and drag it into a different severity. So I can move that between high or low rather than going and individually updating each record with a particular severity. I can also hop into the assigned to area and do the same thing. So I can go and give Brett a ticket here, I can go and reassign this one to the admin team, and it's a very efficient way for working with your records and being able to visualize them on a couple of different bases. On the end, we've got a dashboard option here. So whether or not you see that, it depends on the options that you have set up in your team security as to what you can see and do. Over here in the top right hand corner, we can click in the dashboard box and go and select from one of the different dashboards in the system. So I might want to have a look at tickets per day, and I can also click here to change the calculation period. So it could be this year, last year, pick a year, months, days, weeks, calendar, financial year, etc. And I can basically go and change those parameters. So this is a really good way of being able to break down your ticket data and then drill into it. So what will happen is if I click on one of the users here, it's going to go and update the information in the other boxes in line with that choice. So it's a really good way for being able to drill into your information and visualize it in another way. Coming back to the main view here, we can see that we have a couple of shortcut buttons up here. Now, if we start with adding tags, what that means is that like you can in other areas of CRM, we can add tags to a ticket so that we can use that as another way to sort or segment our workflow. So we can add a tag to a ticket by clicking up here in the edit button, add a new tag or select from an existing one. We can also apply tags to records in bulk. So I could go and select 3 different records here, click add tag and say that these are all urgent problems and have that applied to each of those records. I can also go and update the values for multiple fields on multiple tickets at once. So I can either select all of my records here or go and select a few and then hit on the update button. So what this will give me access to is a range of different fields on the ticket that I can update. So for example, I might want to put in the expected close date for all these tickets and say that that's going to be the 1st of July. I can then go and select further fields if I want to, but I can hit on update and it will go and apply that change in bulk for records. So that's really handy rather than going in and out of each record if you'd like to make some modifications. We can also select records here and click on the delete button. The other way to delete a ticket is to click on it and then come in here and use the delete button. If you have tickets that are about the same issue and we'd like to consolidate or merge them into a single ticket, we can go and select the applicable tickets and then hit merge duplicates. The system will then ask you which is the main record and you can combine them into one record. When it comes to organizing and workflowing tickets for use on a day-to-day basis, you're going to want to set up multiple filters and layouts. For example, show me all of the tickets that are open or closed or a particular severity or due at a certain point in time. So you can quickly create new filters by coming up here to the filter box and clicking on the funnel icon. I'm then going to create a view for tickets that are due next month. I can share this with my colleagues if I'd like to, or if this was just for my own personal use, I could deselect that box. I can then go and build a filter based on the due date and say that the due date must be next month. So once I hit OK, the system will go and do a lookup of anything in the system to find a due date that matches that, and you can see it's returned 3 results. So next time I'd like to pull up that information, I can quickly go and select a filter. You can also create different layouts because depending on the type of tickets that you're looking at, you might want to view a different configuration of columns. So for example, if you were looking at closed tickets, you'd probably want to go and add a couple of extra columns to the view. So such as the close date of the ticket and maybe the expected close date so that you can compare the two of them. So we can go and add those into the view. Now that they've been added, I can come and drag them across so that they're in a more prominent position. So I can keep moving them over until I'm happy with the final location. Once I've made my changes, I can click here next to the layout box, click New, and I'll basically save this as my closed ticket view. I can again share this with my colleagues if I want to, so now I can select OK, and then I can go and pick that layout in future. So you want multiple different filters and multiple different layouts. Don't forget that you can also add and remove columns, and as we saw before, drag and drop them into a new position, and also use the filter or the search box in any of the columns here to quickly find records that we're looking for. So that now brings us to the end of the section on tickets.